Official agency records. Unaltered visual proof. Transparent enforcement. This is bodycam incident reports.
Step away from the door. You don't have authorization.
I entered the correct code. I'm a neurosurgeon. My patient is coding right now.
Doctors don't sneak in wearing hoodies at 2 in the morning.
If you stop me, a 14-year-old girl could die.
Turn around, hands on the wall. You're being detained.
Officer Mark Gannon had been patrolling the Chicago Medical District for 18 months. In that short time, he had developed a reputation that his superiors described as aggressive, and his union representative called proactive. He had racked up 14 complaints in those 18 months, all centered on the same issue, stopping minority individuals in high-value areas and assuming they were trespassing. One rainy Tuesday morning in Chicago, Gannon made a split-second decision that would cost the city and the hospital security firm $3,500,000 and permanently dismantle his career. Dr. Elias Thorne, a 42-year-old world-renowned neurosurgeon, was attempting to enter the neuro-ICU wing via the staff entrance after receiving an emergency page about a post-operative patient who was seizing. He had rushed from his home, throwing a jacket over his scrubs, and in his haste, he had left his lanyard in his car. No crime, no break-in, just a surgeon racing against the clock to save a dying patient. But Officer Gannon didn't see a healer. He saw a black man in a hoodie at a secure door in the middle of the night, and his bias convinced him he had caught a thief. That false assumption triggered a sequence of events that would shake the foundations of the city's medical community. Before we dive into this story, tell me, where are you watching from today? If you believe that justice should be blind and that stories like this need to be told, please hit that subscribe button. Your support helps us shine a light on the truth. Chicago, Illinois. The Illinois Medical District on the near west side. It is a sprawling complex of hospitals, universities, and research centers. It is the largest urban medical district in the country, a place where miracles happen daily, where helicopters land on roofs carrying trauma victims, and where the lights in the surgical suites never go out. It is a place of high intellect and high stress. It was 02:14 a.m. on a wet, windy Tuesday in October, the kind of Chicago night where the wind cuts through your clothes and the rain feels like ice. The streets were mostly empty, save for the occasional ambulance flashing its lights against the wet asphalt. The research wing of the St. Jude Advanced Medical Center was quiet. The glass bridge connecting the parking structure to the ICU was dimly lit to conserve energy. Dr. Elias Thorne had been with St. Jude for 12 years. He wasn't just a doctor. He was an institution. He specialized in complex glioblastomas, brain tumors that other surgeons deemed inoperable. He had steady hands, a brilliant mind, and a bedside manner that made terrified families feel like everything might just be okay. He had grown up on the South Side, the son of a postal worker and a librarian. He had fought for every inch of ground he gained. Scholarships to Northwestern residency at Johns Hopkins Fellowship in Zurich. He had returned to Chicago to give back to his city. He was the youngest department head in the hospital's history. That night, Elias was not on call. He had performed a 12-hour surgery earlier that day on a 14-year-old girl named Maya. He had gone home to sleep exhausted. But at 01:50 a.m. his phone buzzed. It was the night resident. Maya's intracranial pressure was spiking. She was seizing. They needed him. Elias didn't think. He moved. He threw on a pair of jeans and a dark athletic hoodie over his t-shirt, shoved his feet into sneakers, grabbed his keys, and drove. He didn't put on a suit. He didn't dress for a board meeting. He dressed for speed. When he arrived at the hospital, he parked in his reserved spot marked Dr. Thorne, Chief of Neurosurgery, and ran across the sky bridge to the staff entrance. He reached the door. It was a secure entry requiring a key card or a digital code. He patted his pockets and realized his ID badge was still in the center console of his car 3 floors down. He didn't have time to go back. Seconds mattered. Maya's brain function was at risk. He knew the code. He had used it thousands of times. He punched in the 6-digit sequence. The light turned green. The lock clicked. Completely authorized. Completely critical, completely heroic. But Officer Mark Gannon didn't see it that way. Gannon was part of a specialized detail assigned to patrol the perimeter of the district. There had been a series of thefts in the administrative offices 2 months prior, laptops and tablets stolen. Gannon was on high alert. He was bored, he was cold, and he was looking for action. He was walking the beat on the sky bridge when he saw Elias running toward the door. In Gannon's mind, doctors didn't run in hoodies at 2 a.m. Doctors wore white coats. Doctors walked with dignity. Doctors were different. Gannon saw a black man in athletic gear trying to punch a code into a high-security door. His bias filled in the rest of the story. This was a hacker or a thief who had stolen a code trying to access the pharmaceutical storage or the server room. Gannon didn't consider that the man had punched the code correctly. He didn't consider the urgency in the man's body language. He just acted. Do you think security personnel need more training on how to identify medical staff in emergencies? Drop your answer below. Officer Gannon sprinted the last 20 feet, his hand clapping onto his holster, his voice booming in the concrete corridor. Step away from the door now. The command bounced off the glass walls. Elias froze his hand already on the handle, pulling the door open. He turned adrenaline, pumping his mind filled with images of Maya's brain scan. "Officer," Elias said, breathless. "I'm a surgeon. I have a patient crashing in the ICU. I need to get in there." Gannon closed the distance, his chest puffing out. "Back away from the door. Let it close. Do not enter that building." "You don't understand," Elias said, his voice rising with panic, not for himself, but for the girl upstairs. "I am Dr. Elias Thorne. I'm the chief of neurosurgery. Code Blue, I need to go." "Chief of neurosurgery." Gannon scoffed, looking Elias up and down. The hoodie, the sneakers, the urgency. "Right. And I'm the mayor of Chicago. Step back. Keep your hands where I can see them." Elias pointed at the door. "The code worked. I know the code because I work here. Please, officer, walk with me. You can escort me, but I have to get to the 4th floor." "I'm not escorting you anywhere except the back of a squad car if you don't calm down," Gannon snapped. "I need to see ID, a hospital badge, right now." "It's in my car," Elias pleaded. "I left it in my car because I was rushing. My patient is a 14-year-old girl. She is dying. Call the nurse's station. Call the operator. Ask for Dr. Thorne." Gannon shook his head. "I'm not making calls for you. You are trying to bypass a secure checkpoint without identification. That is a breach of security protocol. That is criminal trespass until proven otherwise." "This is a hospital," Elias shouted, the frustration boiling over. "We save lives here. We don't have time for this." "Don't you yell at me," Gannon yelled back, stepping into Elias's personal space. "You are detained. Turn around and put your hands on the wall." And there it was. The moment logic died. Dr. Elias Thorne. The man whose hands were insured for millions of dollars. The man who was the only person in the city capable of performing the surgery Maya needed was being treated like a criminal because Officer Gannon could not reconcile the image of a black man in a hoodie with the concept of a leading surgeon. "I cannot do that," Elias said, his voice dropping to a deadly calm. "I am going through this door. If you want to shoot me, you shoot me, but I am going to my patient." Elias turned back to the door. Gannon lunged. He grabbed Elias by the shoulder of his hoodie and yanked him backward. Elias stumbled, his sneakers squeaking on the wet floor. Gannon swept Elias's legs, taking him down to the hard concrete. "Stop resisting! Stop fighting!" Gannon screamed, though Elias hadn't thrown a punch. "My hands!" Elias screamed, curling his fingers into fists to protect them. "Do not hurt my hands! I am a surgeon!" Gannon pressed his knee into Elias's lower back. He grabbed Elias's right wrist, the wrist that performed delicate microsutures, and wrenched it behind his back. The handcuffs clicked, then the left. The cold steel bit into the skin. Elias was pressed against the dirty floor of the sky bridge, his cheek against the concrete. He wasn't thinking about the humiliation. He was thinking about the clock. Every second he lay there was a second Maya's brain was swelling. "You are making a mistake," Elias gasped. "A fatal mistake." "The only mistake was you thinking you could break in here on my watch," Gannon panted, radioing dispatch. "Dispatch, this is Unit 4 Alpha. I have one male black in custody at the St. Jude Sky Bridge. Attempted breach of security. Suspect was combative. Combative. Elias closed his eyes. He had spent his life studying working 100-hour weeks, sacrificing his personal life, climbing to the pinnacle of his profession. And here he was, face down in the dirt, combative because he tried to go to work. The elevator door on the other side of the glass bridge, the secure side slid open. Dr. Sarah Jenkins. The trauma attendings on duty rushed out. She had been waiting for Elias. When he didn't show up at the scrub sink, she had come looking. Worried he had been in a car accident, she saw the scene through the glass doors. A police officer kneeling on the back of a man. She saw the face pressed against the floor. She swiped her badge frantically, bursting through the doors. "Get off him!" Sarah screamed. It was a primal sound. "Get off him right now!" Gannon looked up, startled. "Ma'am, stay back. This is an active crime scene. This suspect..." "Suspect." Sarah ran forward, ignoring the officer's raised hand. "That is Dr. Elias Thorne. That is the chief of neurosurgery. What are you doing?" Gannon froze. He looked at the woman in the white coat. He looked down at the man in the hoodie. He has no ID," Gannon stammered. "He was forcing the door." "He has the code?" Sarah yelled. "He knows the code. Get him up. We have a patient coding on the 4th floor. You are killing her. Uncuff him." "I have to verify this." Sarah pointed to her own badge. "I am identifying him. That is Dr. Thorne. If that patient dies because you are sitting on her surgeon, I will personally ensure you are charged with manslaughter. Uncuff him." The color drained from Gannon's face. The certainty that had driven him the absolute conviction that he was catching a thug shattered. He realized with a sickening lurch that the thief was exactly who he said he was. Gannon fumbled for his keys. His hands shook. He unlocked the cuffs. Elias didn't say a word to Gannon. He didn't look at him. He didn't rub his wrists. He scrambled to his feet, adrenaline masking the pain in his shoulder. "Sarah, how is she?" Elias asked, his voice shaking. "Stable but critical. We pushed mannitol. She's waiting." Elias turned and ran through the open door. He didn't look back at the officer. He ran to the scrub room. He scrubbed his hands, ignoring the red welts on his wrists where the metal had bitten him. He put on his gown. He walked into the OR. He operated for 6 hours. He removed the clot. He stopped the bleeding. He saved Maya's life. Only when he stepped out of the OR 6 hours later, as the sun was rising over Lake Michigan, did the adrenaline fade. And when it faded, the rage set in. Elias sat in the locker room staring at his wrists. They were bruised. His shoulder throbbed. He looked at his hands, the hands that saved lives. They shook slightly. Not from fatigue, but from fury. Officer Gannon had stayed at the scene for 10 minutes, then fled when a hospital administrator arrived. He had filed a report claiming confusion regarding entry protocols and suspect failed to identify. He tried to cover his tracks. He tried to frame it as a mutual misunderstanding, but the Sky Bridge had cameras, high-definition 4K security cameras with audio. Should medical personnel have special legal protections against detainment while on duty? Let me know what you think in the comments. The video footage was damning. It showed a calm Elias explaining who he was. It showed him offering a solution call the nurse. It showed Gannon escalating Gannon screaming, Gannon attacking a man who was clearly not a threat. It showed the bias in high definition. Dr. Thorne didn't just file a complaint. The hospital board filed a complaint. The Medical Association filed a complaint. Elias hired the best civil rights firm in Chicago. The lawsuit wasn't just about the arrest. It was about the delay. It was about the loss of chance. If Maya had died, it would have been wrongful death. Since she lived, it was about the endangerment of a life due to racial profiling. The allegations were severe. False imprisonment, assault, battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and deprivation of civil rights under color of law. The city of Chicago and the private security firm that contracted Gannon tried to settle quickly. They offered $500,000. Elias's lawyers laughed. "You knelt on the back of the city's leading neurosurgeon while a child was dying," his lawyer told the city attorneys during the deposition. "You risked a child's life because your officer couldn't believe a black man in a hoodie could be a doctor. You are going to pay for every second he was on that ground. During the investigation, Gannon's history came to light. The 14 prior complaints. The stops of black university professors, Hispanic nurses, Asian lab techs. A pattern of harassing professionals who didn't look the part in Gannon's eyes. Gannon was deposed. He sat across from Elias. I was following protocol, Gannon insisted, though he looked small in his chair. Secure areas must remain secure. Did you check the code he used? Elias's lawyer asked. No. Did you call the number he gave you? No. Did you ask him medical questions to verify his identity? No. Why? Gannon remained silent. Because, the lawyer answered for him. You had already decided who he was. You saw his skin and you saw his hoodie and you decided he was a criminal. That is not protocol. That is prejudice. The settlement was reached 11 months later. $500,000. It was one of the largest settlements for a non-fatal police encounter in the city's history. Officer Mark Gannon was fired. His certification was revoked by the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board. He was stripped of his badge. He would never carry a gun or a badge again. But the story didn't end with a check. Dr. Thorne used the money. He didn't buy a new house. He didn't buy a car. He established the Maya Foundation, named after the patient he saved that night. The foundation provides scholarships for inner-city youth in Chicago who want to pursue careers in medicine. It pays for their tuition, their books, and yes, their professional attire. Elias spoke at the press conference announcing the foundation. He stood at the podium wearing his white coat. I have spent my life proving I belong, Elias said, his voice echoing in the hall. I have degrees on my wall. I have saved thousands of lives. And yet to some I am still just a suspect until proven otherwise. I was lucky. I had witnesses. I had cameras. I had the power of this institution behind me. But what about the young man who is just starting out? What about the orderly, the nurse, the student? If it can happen to the chief of neurosurgery, it can happen to anyone, and that is why we must change. The hospital changed its security protocols. Police are no longer allowed to detain staff on hospital grounds without an administrator present. Biometric scanners replaced keypads. Training on implicit bias became mandatory for all security personnel. But for Elias, the memory remains. Every time he walks across that sky bridge late at night, he feels the ghost of that knee in his back. He feels the cold metal on his wrists. He remembers that his credentials, his skill, and his title offered him no protection in the dark. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was a collision of two worlds. The world of merit, where Elias Thorne was a king, and the world of bias, where he was a target. Officer Gannon didn't see a surgeon. He saw a stereotype. And because he refused to look past that stereotype, he almost cost a child her life. This story forces us to ask a difficult question. What does authority look like? Does it look like a badge, or does it look like the hands that heal? Why do we assume that a man in a suit is a leader, but a man in a hoodie is a threat? Bias is a blinder. It narrows our vision. It stops us from seeing the truth standing right in front of us. Gannon's bias cost him his career. It cost the city millions. But it cost Elias Thorne his sense of safety in the very place he called home. The next time you see someone who doesn't fit your expectation of a professional pause, ask yourself, what am I seeing and what am I assuming? Because the man you stop in the hallway might just be the only person who can save your life. Money buys silence, but it doesn't buy peace. Justice was served on paper, but the scar remains. It is a reminder that we have a long way to go before a black man can run to work without fearing that the run will be his last. Should officers face criminal charges, not just firing for unlawful detention? Comment your thoughts below. If you believe we need to hold our systems accountable, if you believe that character is more important than appearance, please subscribe. We will keep telling these stories until they stop happening. We will keep fighting for a world where competence is recognized regardless of the package it comes in. This is about dignity. This is about respect. And this is about the truth.
This briefing is now complete. For more factual case reviews, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching Bodycam Incident Reports.